In this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 chicken pot pie brands Canadians should seriously reconsider, and 5 that are actually worth your money. Some disappoint, others truly deliver. Let's get into it. Number 10. Swanson Chicken Pot Pie. Swanson is the brand most Canadians think of first when they picture a frozen chicken pot pie. Decades on Canadian shelves have built a level of default trust that the product has not consistently earned. When something has been in your parents' freezer and your grandparents' freezer, you stop asking whether it is actually good. I started asking. A single Swanson chicken pot pie carries approximately 840 milligrams of sodium. The Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada recommends a daily ceiling of 2,000 milligrams. That single pie delivers more than 40% of the entire daily allowance before a side dish or snack is factored in. The foundation estimates roughly 1 in 4 Canadian adults is living with hypertension. That number deserves more attention than the familiar packaging invites. The ingredient panel tells another story. Modified food starch appears early as a thickener, alongside autolyzed yeast extract, a concentrated source of free glutamates used to amplify savoriness in a filling that would taste thin without it. The chicken itself appears well down the list. For a product whose entire identity is built around chicken, that ordering tells you something important about where the flavor is actually coming from. Number 9. McCain Deepened Delicious Chicken Pot Pie. McCain Foods is a proudly Canadian company headquartered in Florenceville, New Brunswick, and I want to acknowledge that before saying what needs to be said. Canadian heritage in the food industry matters. It does not excuse a formulation that does not serve Canadian consumers well. The McCain Deep End Delicious Chicken Pot Pie carries a sodium count of approximately 900 milligrams per serving. That is already a significant number. The more important issue is the fat content. A single pie delivers somewhere between 20 and 24 grams of total fat, with a meaningful portion of that being saturated fat from the shortening used in the pastry. Health Canada recommends limiting saturated fat as part of long-term cardiovascular health management. The pastry crust on this product is built on partially hydrogenated vegetable shortening in certain formulations, which is an ingredient class associated with trans fat production and one that Health Canada has been progressively restricting in the Canadian food supply for exactly this reason. What makes the McCain product worth calling out is that the deep dish format the name celebrates means more pastry, more shortening, more saturated fat, and a higher calorie load than a standard format. Deep End Delicious is actively marketing the very characteristic that makes the product nutritionally problematic. Canadians deserve to have that pointed out directly. Number 8. Banquet Chicken Pot Pie. Banquet is a Conagra Brands product, and Conagra is one of the largest food manufacturers in North America, reporting annual revenues exceeding $11 billion US. Banquet pot pies are positioned as the budget option in the frozen pie category, and the price point is genuinely low. What that price point is funding, in terms of ingredient quality, is the part of the story that does not appear on the front of the box. Chicken appears on the Banquet ingredient panel, but it is flanked immediately by chicken broth, modified cornstarch, and isolated soy protein. The soy protein isolate functions as a protein extender, letting the manufacturer reduce actual chicken content while keeping the protein number on the nutrition panel looking reasonable. This is a legal and widely used strategy. It is not one a consumer paying for a chicken pot pie should have to decode from the fine print. Sodium sits at approximately 820 milligrams per pie. Combined with soy protein extension and a pastry built on low-grade vegetable shortening, this product sits at the bottom tier of what the frozen pot pie category offers. For Canadians drawn to the Banquet price point, there are better options at comparable prices covered in the second half of this video. Number 7. Stouffer's Chicken Pot Pie. Stouffer's sits in an interesting position in this category because it is consistently marketed as a more premium option than Banquet or Swanson. The packaging is more sophisticated, the price is higher, and the brand carries an implied quality signal that many Canadian consumers respond to. I looked carefully at whether that signal is justified. A single Stouffer's chicken pot pie delivers approximately 970 milligrams of sodium. That is the highest sodium count among the first 7 entries on this list, and it earns Stouffer's a specific call-out for that reason alone. Nearly 1,000 milligrams of sodium in a single frozen meal is a number that the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada would flag immediately, and it sits in a product being sold to Canadians as a quality frozen dinner at a premium price point. The cream sauce base delivers the rich texture that supports the premium positioning. But the sodium required to make it taste as flavorful as the packaging implies is where the compromise happens. You are paying more than you would for banquet and getting a creamier texture alongside a higher sodium load. Whether that trade-off is worth it is a question the brand's marketing never raises, which is why I am raising it here. Number 6. President's Choice Chicken Pot Pie. President's Choice is Canada's most trusted grocery private label, and the PC Chicken Pot Pie benefits from that trust in a way that is worth examining specifically. When a product carries the PC name, most Canadian consumers extend it a level of confidence they might not give to a national brand. That confidence is not always warranted. The PC Chicken Pot Pie carries 860 to 920 milligrams of sodium per pie. The filling uses yeast extract as a primary flavor driver, the same concentrated glutamate compound flagged throughout this list. Yeast extract is present because the chicken content alone cannot deliver the savory depth the product needs. When a pot pie needs yeast extract to taste like chicken, that is a signal about how much actual chicken is in the filling. The pastry uses modified palm oil as a primary fat, raising the same saturated fat concerns as the McCain product. For a product sold under Canada's most trusted grocery brand at a quality price point, relying on modified palm oil in the pastry and yeast extract in the filling is a formulation that the PC reputation is doing more work to sell than the ingredients are doing to justify. Number 5. Great Value Chicken Pot Pie. Great Value is Walmart Canada's private label, occupying the same budget positioning as Banquet, but with less brand heritage behind it. I included it here because of how widely it is purchased by Canadian families looking for an affordable freezer meal, and because the formulation concerns are significant enough that those families deserve a clear picture. The Great Value Chicken Pot Pie uses mechanically separated chicken as a component of its filling alongside whole muscle chicken pieces. Mechanically separated chicken is produced through a high-pressure separation process that forces carcass material through a sieve to extract residual protein. It is a lower-cost protein source that is permitted under Canadian food labeling regulations and must be declared on the ingredient panel. What is not declared is that the texture and quality of mechanically separated chicken is substantially different from the whole muscle meat most consumers picture when they read chicken on a frozen pie label. Sodium sits at approximately 790 milligrams per pie, with modified cornstarch, soy protein concentrate, and autolyzed yeast extract all present on the panel. For Canadian families feeding children this product as a regular weeknight dinner, the mechanically separated chicken and the layered flavor engineering deserve to be visible on the front of the box rather than buried in small print text on the back. Number 4. Amy's Kitchen Organic Chicken Pot Pie. I want to handle this one carefully because Amy's Kitchen has a genuine and earned reputation in the organic and natural food space, and I do not want to overstate the concern here. The formulation is cleaner than everything above it on this list, but at the price point Amy's charges for this product, which is significantly higher than any conventional frozen pot pie, the sodium numbers warrant a direct conversation. Amy's Organic Chicken Pot Pie carries approximately 680 milligrams of sodium per pie. That is lower than most products on this list, and the ingredients are genuinely cleaner, with organic certification across the primary components and no artificial flavor enhancers or mechanically separated protein. For a consumer who has specifically chosen Amy's because they want an organic, cleaner label, frozen meal option, those facts matter and they are real. The concern is value transparency. At 3 to 4 times the price of a banquet pie, Canadians purchasing Amy's are making a health assumption the sodium number does not fully support. 680 milligrams is still more than a third of the Heart and Stroke Foundation's daily ceiling. The expectation the price and organic positioning create is only partially met, and Canadians paying that premium deserve to know where the gap is. Number 3. Lean Cuisine Chicken Pot Pie. Lean Cuisine has built its entire brand identity around the idea of being the smarter, lighter choice in the frozen food aisle. The name itself is the promise. Lean, which means healthy, and cuisine, which means quality. I want to test that promise specifically against what the chicken pot pie delivers. Lean Cuisine controls its calorie count by reducing portion size rather than improving ingredient quality. The pie is smaller, producing a lower calorie number on the panel, but sodium still sits at approximately 690 milligrams, meaning the sodium density relative to portion size is actually quite high. You are eating less food and still taking in a significant sodium load. That is not what most Canadians purchasing something called Lean Cuisine are expecting. The filling uses modified cornstarch and yeast extract, the same flavor engineering as the budget options on this list. The lean positioning is achieved through portion reduction, not a cleaner formulation. For Canadians choosing Lean Cuisine because they believe it represents a healthier frozen food category, the reality behind the name is something the brand has a responsibility to communicate more honestly. Number 2. Boston Market Frozen Chicken Pot Pie. Boston Market carries significant brand equity in the Canadian market built on the idea of home-style, quality, comfort food. The restaurant chain positioning transfers directly onto the frozen grocery product, and Canadian consumers extend the brand a level of quality trust that I think deserves scrutiny when it comes to this specific product. The Boston Market Frozen Chicken Pot Pie delivers approximately 1,050 milligrams of sodium per pie, the highest on this list. That is more than half the Heart and Stroke Foundation's recommended daily sodium ceiling in a single frozen meal. For a product sold on the strength of a restaurant brand built around quality home-style cooking, that number is a serious gap between the brand promise and the nutritional reality. The pastry produces a familiar golden crust, but contributes a significant saturated fat load. The chicken content in the filling is reasonable relative to others on this list, which is worth acknowledging. But reasonable chicken content does not offset more than 1,000 milligrams of sodium in a single meal. The Boston Market name is carrying this product further than the formulation justifies. Number 1. Marie Callender's Chicken Pot Pie. Marie Callender's earns the number 1 spot not because it is uniquely terrible across every dimension, but because of the specific combination of wide Canadian distribution, strong brand trust built on a heritage of quality baking, and a sodium and fat profile that is among the most concerning in the category. A standard Marie Callender's pie delivers approximately 1,040 milligrams of sodium and between 34 and 38 grams of total fat, with a significant portion from saturated fat in the pastry. The pastry is genuinely good by frozen pot pie standards, and that quality is real. But a great crust built on high saturated fat shortening in a pie carrying over 1,000 milligrams of sodium is not a trade-off the brand communicates honestly. The filling uses auto-lysed yeast extract and natural flavor as primary flavor drivers alongside the chicken, which tells the same story we have seen across this list. The chicken content alone is not sufficient to deliver the flavor intensity the product needs, so flavor engineering fills the gap. Marie Callender's commands a higher price than most frozen pot pies in the Canadian market. That price, combined with the heritage branding and the quality crust, creates a powerful quality assumption in the mind of every Canadian consumer reaching for it in the freezer aisle. The sodium numbers and the fat content are the part of the story the brand is not telling. That is why this product sits at number 1. Number 5. Sobeys Compliments Balanced Chicken Pot Pie. Sobeys is one of Canada's largest grocery retailers, and the Compliments Balance line is their health-conscious private label tier, available across Sobeys, IGA, Foodland, and Freshco banner stores nationwide. That reach matters because it makes this a genuinely accessible recommendation for Canadians outside major urban centers who may not have a Whole Foods or a Costco nearby. The Compliments Balanced Chicken Pot Pie comes in at approximately 560 to 590 milligrams of sodium per pie, which is meaningfully below every product on the avoid list. The ingredient panel uses chicken stock as the primary flavor base for the filling rather than yeast extract or autolysed glutamate compounds, which tells you the flavor is coming from actual ingredients rather than flavor engineering. Whole muscle chicken appears early on the panel, ahead of the starches and stabilizers, which is the ordering you want to see on a product that calls itself a chicken pot pie. The pastry is made without partially hydrogenated oils, addressing the saturated fat concern that disqualifies several products on the avoid list. For Canadians shopping at Sobeys banner stores who want a frozen pot pie that does not require a trip to a specialty retailer or a Costco membership, the Compliments Balance version is the most accessible clean label option in the mainstream Canadian grocery aisle. The price point is competitive with President's Choice and Great Value, which makes it the strongest value recommendation on this entire list. Number 4. Whole Foods 365 Chicken Pot Pie. Whole Foods 365 is not accessible to every Canadian household, and I want to acknowledge that before recommending it. If you have a Whole Foods market in your city and the price point works for your budget, the 365 private label chicken pot pie is worth knowing about. The 365 version carries approximately 550 milligrams of sodium and uses whole muscle chicken, chicken broth, vegetables, and a pastry made without partially hydrogenated oils. No mechanically separated protein, no soy protein extenders, no autolysed yeast extract. For a frozen pot pie, that ingredient list is genuinely clean. The pastry does not match the quality of Marie Callender's crust, but the cleaner formulation at lower sodium is a trade-off most health-conscious Canadians will find worthwhile. Number 3. Costco Kirkland Signature Chicken Pot Pie. Kirkland Signature's Chicken Pot Pie, available at Costco Canada, earns its place on this recommend list for a straightforward reason. The chicken-to-filling ratio is among the highest in the category, and the product uses whole muscle chicken pieces that are clearly identifiable in the filling rather than processed or extended protein. The sodium sits at approximately 620 milligrams per serving, which is at the lower end of the mainstream frozen pot pie range. The pastry is made with butter as the primary fat rather than vegetable shortening, which improves both the flavor profile and the saturated fat quality compared to the shortening-based crusts on most products in this category. The Costco format means you are buying multiple pies, which suits families well. For households that are regular Costco shoppers, this is the frozen pot pie I would reach for without hesitation. Number 2. Hard Bite or Local Bakery Fresh Pot Pies. I am including a category recommendation here rather than a single national brand because across Canada, local and regional bakeries produce fresh or fresh frozen chicken pot pies that outperform every national frozen brand on this list in almost every meaningful dimension. In British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritime Provinces, independent bakeries and local food producers sell fresh pot pies through farmers markets, specialty grocery stores, and increasingly through direct order. A fresh pie from a local bakery uses recognizable whole ingredients, real butter or lard in the pastry, and a filling where chicken is the primary component rather than an afterthought. Sodium is typically lower because the flavor comes from real stock rather than yeast extract. If you have access to a local option in your area, it belongs in your freezer before any national brand on this list. Number 1. Good Food or HelloFresh Chicken Pot Pie Meal Kit. Number 1 on the recommend list, and this recommendation comes with a specific reasoning that I want to make clear. Good Food and HelloFresh both operate meal kit delivery services across Canada, and both have offered chicken pot pie as a rotating menu item. The reason this format earns the top spot is not just the ingredient quality, although that is genuinely better than anything in the frozen aisle. It is what this format teaches you to do with a chicken pot pie. When you make a chicken pot pie from a Good Food or HelloFresh kit, you use portioned whole muscle chicken, fresh vegetables, real stock, and a pastry that you assemble yourself. The sodium is a fraction of what any frozen brand delivers because you are controlling the salt. The fat is coming from real butter in the pastry rather than industrial shortening. The chicken content is exactly what you put in, not what a manufacturer decided to include after optimizing for cost. Making a pot pie from a kit once teaches you that the from-scratch version is within reach for a weeknight meal, which is the most powerful takeaway on this entire list. Frozen pot pies exist because convenience has real value for busy Canadian families. I understand that completely. But convenience should not come at the cost of transparency about what is actually in the food. The brands on the avoid list are counting on Canadians not reading the back of the box. The 5 options on the recommend list are the ones that can look you in the eye when you do.